Hello, Money Queens and listeners. Welcome to Women Behind the Millions. Let's meet the women behind the millionaires, the women supporting, guiding, celebrating women with their wealth. You will hear from women millionaires, how they got there, what they wish they had known, what got them to be a millionaire, the emotional side, the spiritual side, the practical side of wealth. You'll also get to meet the women behind the scenes helping make it happen. Let's dive into Women Behind the Millions. I am Jessica Weaver, your host, best-selling author of 3 books, wealth advisor, and founder of the Women's Wealth Boutique. Let's start meeting the women. Hello, ladies and money queens. Welcome back to Women Behind the Millions, Season 3, which is all focused on the D word. And we have a real treat for you tonight. So whether your spouse owns a business, you own a business with your spouse, or maybe you are one of the 1,800 women a day launching your own business, you need to tune into tonight's expert. She is all about business valuations. She is a CPA by trade who really specializes and focuses on divorce and those business valuations as well. And as I was thinking about tonight's episode, have so many questions for her. Want to get into if your spouse owns a business, maybe it's a multi-generational business, something that I came from as well, or you were a woman starting a business or have owned one for a while. What do you need to think about here? So much to get into tonight. But to really center us for the episode, when I think of a business owner, an entrepreneur at heart, they are a problem solver. And what is the biggest difference between a problem solver and somebody who kind of just sits in the problem and lets it happen to them is they're thinking outside the box. They're really coming at it with a different perspective. They usually get lit up by problem solving. They get really excited. That's kind of the energy that fuels them. Is how can I solve the problem with my clients, my customers, my employees, my team, and growing it as well. So listen to this and how you can view it as part of that problem solving toolkit. For this is what a miracle is, a shift in thinking, which then shifts your experience. The shift in perception, your willingness to look beyond appearances, enables you to invoke a different set of probabilities going forward. It enables you to see beyond what's happening to what could be happening, thus creating the space for something new. And that is really why the entrepreneurs are the leaders. We talk a lot about being a thought leader and having a mission and approaching things with such a different perspective. And instead of getting that negativity when a problem arises, you light up because this is your time to shine and to step up and to solve something that most people would just, one, settle for, take as a huge issue, the negativity, let it drain them, suck their energy out. You're standing up and shining during these amazing times. So I'm going to bring on my co-host of this season, Donna Cates herself, the divorce source here at the Wealth Boutique. Hello, Donna.
Hello there.
How are you doing tonight, Donna?
I'm doing fabulous and so glad to be here having this important conversation with everybody.
Yes. What are some big issues you see? You've been doing divorce work for over 20 years. When a business comes to the table, what happens when a family owns a business, a spouse owns a business? What are the big issues you run into?
The first thing I see is that typically it's one person thinks they own it on their own. And the reality is if they're married, it is a joint asset. So it's going to be divided. It's just a question of how it's going to be divided. But another thing is doing business valuations, as we'll discover tonight, it takes a little bit of money to pay, to have those done. And unfortunately, a lot of people just don't understand the value of investing in that process in order to ensure that they get the proper valuation. So that's a big question that I have tonight.
Ooh, good one. I just had a woman in my office, and not that she's going through divorce, but she's a part owner of the business. And I was explaining to her that we still want to look at it's an asset for their retirement. So we still want a business, some sort of metric that we can decide how is it growing, how much should we put into your overall plan. We can't just ignore it. It's still there. It's still something that you own. as well. So I'm curious too, how often to go through a business valuator, or what are those big times, not just divorce, but other times that you want to get it valuated. We do a similar practice here at the boutique, and we go through we make it a yearly practice, and it's not a full-blown business valuation, but we are able to look at our metrics and see how are we growing, how is that increasing the value of the business as well here. So awesome, Donna. I am so excited to bring to stage Darlene Shaffer. Let me tell you a little bit about her. I've known her for several years now. She is a CPA and business valuation expert. She values businesses to assist in the equitable distribution of marital assets. She loves to educate clients about the numbers. She definitely takes her time to educate and give them all of the resources so that they can make informed decisions when it comes to their businesses. She has been huge here in New Jersey in the collaborative divorce space, being a huge advocate for it and part of the collaborative divorce group as well. So Darlene Shaffer, welcome to Women Behind the Millions. How are you tonight?
Fine, thank you.
What are you looking forward to our discussion tonight?
I am. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome, Darlene. I forgot to show you all. Look at this new mug that I just picked up. Manifest. We're going to manifest an amazing conversation tonight, but really getting into their resources. I'm blown away by how many women are starting businesses, 1,800 a day worldwide. It's crazy. Darlene, do you think they're thinking about what the value of their business is as they're in it and growing it?
No, I don't think they are. Business valuation is based on the cash flows of the business. And I think they're more interested in growing those cash flows and not thinking about the value it generates.
Ooh, what could they do to start making that a focus, we'll say? What would you recommend for them, Darlene?
I would think that they would like to set up an analysis going forward, maybe on a regular basis, at least on an annual basis, where they look at their cash flows and how they're increasing, just to give them a ballpark as to how they're growing.
Sure. Some sort of tracking that they can look at on a regular basis, set aside that time to see how they're doing as well for it. Darlene, do you mind sharing with us your story? When did you become a CPA? What got you into the accounting industry profession as well?
Well, I've been in public accounting for 35 years now. It's been a long road. I was a single parent of two. I put off taking the exam for a while. So I think it was 2002 or 3 when I actually became a CPA. But I have that 35 years of public accounting experience working with clients.
You are a single mom, and if I remember correctly with your story, Darlene, you moved from Pittsburgh to New Jersey?
Yes, it was 1987. There was a recession and no jobs to be had in the Pittsburgh area when I graduated from the University of Pittsburgh. So I found the most opportunity here in New Jersey, and so I packed up the family and landed here in Central Jersey.
Wow. Where was your family located? I'm just thinking helping with the kids and such.
My daughter was 12. My son was 8 at the time.
Okay. And did you have a lot of help around you of being a working mom and building quite a successful career too? Raising 2 kids on your own had to have been a lot.
It was kind of scary. I was moving here with no family and knowing no one in the area. So I was building from scratch.
From scratch. Were there who did you lean on when you needed help? Did you have?
Well, I would get on the phone back to my family and talk things out if I had problems. So otherwise I was on my own.
Oh, wow. I can't even imagine Darlene moving. And that's what, 6-7 hours of a drive?
my home is this side of Pittsburgh, so it's about 5.5 hours.
Yes. It's still up there. Right.
I still make the trip because my daughter moved back there and my grandchildren are there. So,
very nice. My sister-in-law's family is from Pittsburgh, so I hear their kids, we have to get in the car again. Theirs is about 6 hours for it too. And Darlene, what brought you into the divorce specialty in business valuations? When did that occur?
That was in like 2008, I believe, where I went for the training for the business valuations, and then moved into different areas. Business valuations are needed in business divorces and in marital divorces, of course, but also in tax situations where the value of the business is needed for gifting or estates.
How long of a process is it to do a business valuation? Is it a few days, a few weeks, months?
It depends. Don't you just love that answer?
Tell us more, Darlene. Tell us more.
Okay. Well, it depends on if the information is readily available for us to work with. And once we have all the information, it takes 3 to 4 weeks for us to pull it all together and come up with the value.
Okay.
It also depends on what type of business valuation you're looking for, because the purpose of the valuation determines how the business is valued.
Okay, let's go into there. And Donna, did you have a question?
Yeah. First, I did want to say this. Darlene, I'm excited that we're having this conversation with you specifically because you've been through the divorce process, and the whole purpose of the book and this season is empowering women. And you are a perfect example of how you did what you had to do, even though they were hard things, and you picked up and you carried on. So kudos to you for that. And especially in this, in the world of CPA and accounting, because that makes my head hurt. But I do want to say, I'm very curious to know a distinction, because, there are a lot of businesses that without the person, there is no business. And I'm thinking like a hairdresser and I don't even know what examples to use. But how does one first determine if they need to have a business valuation done for the purposes of divorce?
I think in every situation where there's a business
cut.
I think in every situation where there's a business, you need to talk to a business valuation expert and decide what pertains to your situation. All situations are different. With regard to a hairdresser that you mentioned, the value of the business is basic. Someone buying that business would be buying a job, basically. So how much is that worth? The client list. There is some value there, but not a lot.
But very helpful, Darlene. So going back to the purpose of the business valuation, that can then go, and in your chapter, you distinguish different types of business valuations. Can you define the different purposes, and then that leads into which way they go with the business valuation? Because one's much more intense, it sounds. Longer, but a more realistic, accurate value given.
Yes, you need a full detailed valuation if it's for tax purposes, like I said, estates and trust type work. You also need a full valuation if you're litigating the divorce or any other type of situation involving the value of the business. For marital divorce, where they're going to work together to come up with a settlement, they don't need that full-blown valuation. That is relatively costly. you can get a calculation of value, and that's about half the cost of the full-blown valuation, where you work with the valuator to come up with a method and to calculate the value, and then use just that method to value the business. Now, if there's real estate involved in a business, you're most likely going to end up with an asset approach, which means that it's a balance sheet. You're going to get an appraisal, and you're going to add the other assets and subtract the liabilities to come up with a value. That's pretty straightforward. When it's an income approach, which an operating company usually needs, you're going to use capitalization earnings or cash flows. And it's easy to do with the financials of the business. And then we come up with some questions to ask the business owner to fine-tune those numbers to get a value. The third value there is the market approach, which is rarely used because the data isn't available.
To compare it with, it's like a house, right? What are the comps when you're selling a house to price it out?
Exactly.
Okay. Are there cases, Darlene, where one spouse is getting their own valuation done and another one's getting their own valuation done, and then they have two different numbers coming to the table?
Yes, and I've also seen a third valuation done in litigated matters as well. So,
which one would the judge, if it's a litigated case, which one would the judge look at? If there's three different ones being presented, do they average them out? What does that usually look like?
The experts present their case, their valuation in front of the judge, and the judge decides which is more credible.
Okay.
Usually it's somewhere in the middle.
Okay. I'm sure you've sat on many trials to present your valuation, Darlene.
I have a few. Most of my clients settle, and I recommend that they settle. There's no reason for a non-interested third party to make decisions in for your life.
Oh, sure. Now, Donna, I know you had a story with a client who ended up not going through the business valuation route.
Yes, and I'd love to get Darlene's feedback on this. Mm-hmm. So I always encourage women, regardless if they have any interest in the business, even if they've had business valuations done in the past, to go ahead and invest in having a new one done because of this one situation. So this was it was a few years ago, 2010. I had a client who was working with me for divorce financial planning, and she and her spouse owned a business, and they had a business valuation that was done in 2006. And at that time, the business was valued at $2.5 million. Now, it did include real estate, the property that the business was in, as well as all of the equipment, and then the business itself and the income sources. But she elected, once she discovered that they were going to ask for about $15,000 to do a full in-depth business valuation, she said, not going to spend the money. So she ended up getting a property settlement through the divorce. They agreed on the $2.5 million value. She got a payout of half of that, half of that value. She got 1.25 in this property settlement, or $125,000 for 10 years. And she was happy with that until 2 years later, her husband sold the business for $6.5 million.
Big difference.
I see that happen often. And it depends on what the business valuation in 2006, the purpose of that valuation. Was it for gifting? Was it for a litigation matter? The rules are different. The theory behind the valuation is different. Here in New Jersey, a valuation for marital purposes doesn't include any discounts for marketability, for minority interests. But those type of discounts are included in other types of valuations, like for tax, for gifts and estate purposes. So if she's using a valuation that used those discounts, that value could have been discounted dramatically for that purpose.
Right. And the way I looked at it is that was just a costly mistake, but she was willing to forego that because she just didn't see the value in spending that money. But it just kind of solidified for me that if you really don't understand what it is that you're working with, you got to hire the experts to figure it out for you and at least level the playing field.
And just think the appreciated value of that real estate that was in that business over a few years has appreciated more than the $15,000 she would have paid for the valuation.
Don't be short-term minded. Thinking of the money today, a business, a several $1 million mistake right there, not $4 million value she didn't see because she was very short-minded. Let's get the divorce over with. I don't want to spend any extra money for it either. So many questions after talking about these things, Darlene. I'm thinking of the spouse who goes, my husband, he does everything in the business. He'll know how to lower the valuation price. Probably what you're just talking about, Darlene, too. What would you say to that woman? Besides that example of the $4 million oversight, what would you say to the woman? Can you still get an accurate business valuation done if he pays extra for inventory for the next year, if he holds out on taking invoice payments for until the next year? Can you still get a good idea of what the business is valued at?
Yeah. Well, that's some of the things that a business valuator was going to be looking for. The manipulation of those cash flows used in valuing the business. Perfect. Yes. And the inventory transactions that you described there is one of those ways that can be done.
Ooh, very good. Very good. Now, so Donna gave an example of a woman getting paid out. Was she getting paid out from the business cash flow for 10 years, Donna, to get her?
Yes, that was the agreement. Yes.
Okay. What typically happens, Darlene and Donna, for now, right? The business is worth $10 million. I want my $5 million. How do I get it out? And what are options for that business owner? So when we say, well, there's no way I can get that money, and they leave it on the table, right? What are resources that a business owner can use to pay out their ex-spouse's ownership to it?
They can take out a loan. There's ways to increase the cash flows of the business by doing some of those things that changed the valuation in the divorce evaluation, like postponing paying accounts payable until the maximum instead of paying them right away or in 30 days. Spread that out to 45 or 90 days, depending on the vendor and how you can work with them. Collecting your accounts receivable earlier, be on top of contacting the client and getting those receipts in your bank account.
Okay, so a lot of options, ladies. Don't just leave the money on the table because he says they don't have it. There are ways for him to find it. Worst comes worst, right? Loan on the equity, the real estate, and things like that. And then how is it taxed to the receiving ex-spouse of their portion of the equity?
Equitable distribution transactions are not taxable. They're between spouses. If there can be a loan, which is paid for years out of the business to the spouse, it's considered equitable distribution within the first year. And as long as that loan is set up within the first year, there's no tax consequences.
There you go, ladies. See, I'm thinking of the different excuses I hear from women, right? Well, maybe we get hit with taxes. There won't be money to pay me out. It's not worth it to spend the money for a business valuation.
And another point that I'd like to make too is that when you elect to use a property settlement to pay out that money owed to the other party, even if that person dies, it goes against the estate. So there's no risk that you're not going to get paid that money. So unlike alimony, which a lot of states don't allow you to insure against, it's not going to end because you can always go against the value of the estate at that person's demise.
Well, good point, Donna. Thank you for sharing that. Such valuable information for our viewers tonight on Women Behind the Millions. How about, can we switch gears here real quick before we go to commercial break? I mean, we talked about the 3 different ways to value your business, different price points, different resources to pay out, the equity, the ownership, the tax consequences as well. How about you are a woman who owns a business? What are ways that you can protect your business, even if divorce isn't on your mind? Right, women, we're starting so many businesses a day. It seems women are flooding from corporate America to become more entrepreneurial. How can they protect their business? Darlene, what would you recommend for them?
Having good records. If you get an inheritance that you invest in a business, that investment can be a premarital or outside of the business equitable distribution realm. Other ways would be just keep good records, and the value of the business that grows during the marriage, of course, is on the table.
It's on the table, yes. How, we have prenups and postnups. Those vary depending on your state as well, looking at your different options too. And then I came from a multi-generational business. There are a lot of those here in America, multi-generational ones as well. So keeping track of the records, as you said, Darlene, is a good first step for it too.
If you own a business before you're married, it may be a good idea to get it valued as of close to the marriage date, and put it in a prenup. That value is outside the realm of any type of divorce action going forward.
Yes. Amazing. Donna, any last questions for Darlene before we take our quick break?
I'm not coming up with anything right now, but after the break, I'll probably have one.
We'll have more. Thank you so much, Darlene, for being such an open book, nerding out with us on business valuations tonight, because it's so important, ladies, to understand, know your resources. Know there's Darlene out there, there's Donna Gates out there, so many resources. So we're going to take a quick break, and Darlene's going to share with us her divorce tip, the trend, and one last leading question for her. So stay tuned.
At Pink Fix Production, your story matters, your voice matters, you matter. It is a privilege to hear your story because of the truth behind it. But it also takes a courageous woman to be bold enough to tell their story, knowing some will judge you, but most, yes, most, will applaud you. We want you to step into being a thought leader and making change in this world, because let's face it, lady, you won't feel satisfied until you make your mark on the world. We accomplish this through several forms of media, podcasts, book publishing, magazines, TV shows, and events. We take you through our 5-step proven process to becoming a thought leader, from getting clarity over your mission, building confidence to use your voice, leveraging the media to declare your mission, aligning with strategic partners, and how to launch your legacy. Yes, we build a platform with you so you can ignite your revolution.
All right, ladies, should we give a little taste of the Divorce Decoded book? Coming August 19th is the date to pre-order, our pre-launch date of Divorce Decoded as well, ladies. Darlene's chapter, she gives so many resources, breaks down the business valuations for you. Donna goes into the finances of it. Both of those chapters really integrate so beautifully together. The money is so important, right? I think, what is the biggest fear women have when they go into a divorce? Quality of lifestyle, would you say, ladies? Maintaining their lifestyle, being able to pay their bills?
I find that the biggest concern is how are they going to maintain their lifestyle and continue to provide the same lifestyle for their children. And then, of course, in later divorces, with the gray divorce, a lot of them are more concerned about whether or not they've got enough money to live the rest of their lives, not just even maintain, but am I going to be the bag lady? That's a huge fear for a lot of women.
Oh, sure. Darlene, what about you? What do you hear a lot from ladies?
Well, you have to understand, if you're getting divorced, that one, the pot of money is going to be split between two households. Those two households are going to have to be less than the one that you'd shared together. There's not enough money to go around to give you two of those original marital households.
Oh, sure. Yes, I find keeping the focus and the priorities, right? What are the priorities? Helping them keep focus and disciplined on those as well, and utilizing you ladies as their resources. I am going to do quick promo for Divorce Decoded.
All right, Money Queens, introducing our newest anthology book at Pink Fix Productions, Divorce Decoded, a manifesto for women navigating divorce and beyond, coming fall of 2024. For more information or to purchase, go to pinkfixproductions.com.
There you go, ladies. Grab the book. It is incredible, the chapters that these amazing women have put together. I've been sharing them with some close friends that are going through divorce, and they're just blown away by the resources and the storytelling, and it being such a heart-led mission as well. So, Darlene, let's get into your divorce tip for our viewers tonight. What would you recommend to these ladies?
Use an expert that is credible and knows what they're doing. Yes, they're costly, but you're better off paying the fee and reaping the benefits of that additional value that you wouldn't have known about.
A credible, don't just use, we talk about, right? Don't use a real estate attorney to be your divorce attorney or your estate attorney, right? Go to the specialist, because what's going to happen, Darlene, they're going to pay maybe a little less for a business valuation, but then they're going to need another one because that one wasn't sufficient enough.
And don't just go to your CPA to get a valuation. You need someone who has the background in valuations to work with you.
Can you give us, and I know New Jersey is going to be a different price than other parts of the country as well, Darlene. Can you give us a range so people know, like, if I'm getting quoted at $1,500 for a full-blown business valuation, you might want to second guess the credibility behind that business valuation. What would you give as a range?
For a full-blown valuation, depending on the availability of the information and the type of business, I would say between 10 and 15 just for the valuation. That's not testifying in court or doing any of that stuff afterwards.
Okay. And that could be additional hours, would you say?
Hourly rate, yes.
Hourly rate. Okay. That's good to know, ladies. 10 to 15,000. Plus, if you get the expert to show up in court to explain how they came up with a valuation. It also sounds like a tip, Darlene, is to have your books and records in order to save money. Would you say that?
Yes, definitely. And the problem with some valuations where it costs more is getting the information from the spouse. If the spouse is not cooperating, that is a problem.
And that can be costly. I've noticed that too. They're on this balancing beam of how much information they can get from their spouse without upsetting them. And then they they lose all this momentum and they're back to square one, right? You're bouncing the emotions, triggering things as well for it too. And if you're a woman starting a business, start with a clean slate and keep track of where the money's coming from, how you're spending it. You're going to need that for taxes anyway. I also think of similar when a business owner is applying for a mortgage. And I remember my friend who does mortgages giving an example. He makes 7 figures, but it's a pizza place. And right, so it's a cash business. She goes, you can say that right, you have 7 figures, but on paper it's $50,000 a year and you're trying to get this mortgage. You need to get your books and records in order for anything like that as well. What are other big times or big events that people need a business valuation, would you say?
The Tax Cuts and Jobs Act is expiring at the end of next year, 2025, and if you don't do any gifting prior to that, you may be losing out on your lifetime exclusion, which is now $13.61 million, I believe, for each individual. Which may be cut in half, which will be cut in half at the end of next year.
Yes. Yeah. So right now, just explain a little bit more. Each person has $13 million that they can pass estate tax free to their heirs, and then their spouse would have another 13 plus million to pass. That can get lowered down to right around 7 million, I believe, right, ladies? 7 million more that you can pay. Pass on estate tax free, and that's for your lifetime. So you could pass if you have 13 million today and you want to pass it on today, you can do that. But then when you pass away, anything over that amount will be subject to taxes as well. So that's a big change for businesses. If it's a high valuation, several $1 million, that can be a big difference. For it, that's a big one. How about
I'm involved with a lot of business divorces where the shareholders can't get along and they have a problem, and the court orders one of them to buy out the other. So there's a valuation similar to the marital valuation. I've been in court several times testifying on these cases.
Oh, sure. I could see that. And if the shareholders can't get along, decisions can't be made. It's going to slow up the business. What a headache. What a nightmare.
Exactly.
Why you don't want your ex-spouse to be still a part owner of the business going forward. We just started working with a new company and talking about buy-sell agreements and succession planning and continuity planning. And there needs to be some sort of value to the company to plan out how much life insurance should they have on each other. So if one passes away, instead of them being forced to work with the spouse or ex-spouse, right, then they can buy it out with that life insurance. So different times like that, and periodically if we need to increase the insurance amount because the business is doing really well and it's growing. And 2, or how about the fun one, retirement? Our dentist just sold his practice. Things like that. I think this happens with a lot of dentists, orthodontists. They own the building, right? So they sell the building, the practice, the client list, someone to the hairdresser as well for it. Very good. Very good. All right. Next question, Darlene. The trend. What are you noticing happening in the divorce world recently?
More and more women have their own businesses. And sometimes when there's a divorce, I'm valuing 2 different businesses for the same divorce. The husband's business and the wife's business.
So 2 business owners are married, and so there's 2 different valuations. Oh, very interesting. Who do you find is easier to work with? Curious. Is it the male owner or the women owners? Who has the cleaner books and records?
It depends. It depends on the size of the business. Of course, the smaller businesses are usually the ones with the messy books. However, the larger businesses trying to get the information that I need to value the business may be a problem.
May be difficult. Oh, sure. thinking just the traditional household dynamic, right? The man manages the finances, but the wife does the budgeting, right? Writing the checks, paying the bills, and things like that. I noticed similar, and I'm curious for Donna and Darlene, have you noticed this too, where the wife does the bookkeeping for the business, but the husband owns the business?
That happens in a lot of situations, yes.
Okay. Does she continue on as a salaried employee of the business in some cases, or?
Not usually. If there's a divorce, she usually loses her job and has to move on.
And okay. Yeah, a lot of changes. How about you, Donna? Any other trends that you've been noticing with businesses and divorce and women?
I think the reality is that because so many women are business owners now, the conversation shifting where, 15 years ago, it was all about the woman getting out her fair share of this business. Now it goes either way. And I couldn't help but to think when Darlene was talking about the business divorce versus the marital divorce, it's all the same. One party's going to want the value of the business to be less because they're, having to pay out, and the other parties want it to be worth more because they're receiving. So that's, I don't think that's ever going to change. But I think the other thing I want to share is the fact that, when we're getting married, we have absolutely no qualms about spending thousands of dollars for the wedding. Right. And I mean, 5,000, 10,000, 50,000, whatever. But when it comes to divorce, we always get so cost conscious that we don't want to spend the money. So I just kind of put that out there so people can remember that, I did do that. And my future is probably worth a little bit more than that now.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Especially if you're older, you're in retirement or you're close to retirement, you don't have those years to make up for the savings of it. They're done here, right? People they're paying $50,000, $100,000, going on a honeymoon for $10,000, $15,000 as well. How about, and I hear this another complaint excuse from women, I don't have the money to pay for the business valuation, but I need it because my husband owns a business. What would you suggest to them, ladies?
Well, I would have them talk to their attorney. The attorneys may be able to craft an agreement that the payment comes out of the business or out of a marital asset. So they're not paying the full amount. They're only paying part of it.
Okay. Oh, good idea. Good idea, Darlene. Beautiful. All right. Well, we just have one more question for you, Darlene. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
What makes you a woman behind the millions?
What makes you a woman behind the millions, Darlene?
Well, I really enjoy helping people deal with their problems, and getting through a divorce is difficult. I try to help them take the emotions out of the room and help them reason and use logic to get to a settlement with the other party. So they can move on with their life.
Very nice, Darlene. Well said. Well said. Something that we didn't even bring up, I mentioned it earlier in the show when we introduced you, Darlene, is you've become such a pillar here in New Jersey, especially on the collaborative divorce front. We have some time. Let's share and educate our audience on, we have divorces that get litigated, right? They end up in court. We have mediators and mediation. Let's let them know a little bit more about the collaborative space and that option for a divorce.
Certainly. Well, that's where a couple agree to come up with their own solution with the help of their two collaboratively trained attorneys, a coach to help them keep those emotions out of the room, and a financial, whether they have a business or not, they're going to need a financial advisor for retirement purposes to value some of those assets if there's not a business to be valued there. if there are businesses to be valued, I am at the table as well.
Oh, very good. Very good. Donna, is collaborative divorce big down in Alabama?
We have it. I think it's kind of morphed into being a more amicable divorce solution versus formally the collaborative. But I'm collaboratively trained as well as a financial neutral and totally support it. Where I see most people being attracted to the collaborative process is if they're high-level executives for big corporations or maybe politicians, anybody in the public eye, because with the collaborative process, the records are not public. And that's a big distinction between a litigated divorce or any divorce and collaborative. So it does provide you with a lot more privacy. The unfortunate thing with collaborative is that if you guys can't come to mutually agreeable decisions between the parties and with the expertise, you have to start over. It's kind of, you have to make sure that you and your spouse are appropriate candidates for collaborative. And if you meet the requirements, then you should be able to successfully collaborate and come out with a mutually agreeable, settlement without having to go into the court system. So it's highly recommended if you can do it, but you have to self-select on that.
Sure. Very good points, Donna and Darlene. Yeah. So if you're a private person or in the public eye, collaborative could be a good option for you. But it's just good to go through all of your options when it's coming into divorce, different price points for all of them, different time frames as well, and know your spouse of how much will it be amicable and that you can work together through the divorce. And there might be some sticking points, and the business valuation probably might be one of them as well for it too. Any last words, Darlene, for our ladies, our money queens who watch Women Behind the Millions?
Oh gosh, so much to say and not enough time to say it in. I just thank you for giving me the opportunity to get in front of some of these women and show how we can help them.
Well, thank you both so much for being incredible advocates for women going through divorce, trying to make it better for them, ending up in a better financial situation as well for them, for their kids, their retirement, all of it as well. And Darlene, where can all the people find you when they need your help?
You can find me at my email address, dds@bkc-cpa.com. here at BKC CPAs in Wilmington, New Jersey.
There she is, ladies. Amazing, Darlene Shaffer. And how about you, Donna? Where can the ladies find you, Donna?
Website is the best place, and that's going to be moneymatterswealth.com.
moneymatterswealth.com. Awesome, ladies. Thank you so much for spending time with us. Such a big, important topic, especially as more businesses are being created, founded. Interesting dynamic where both spouses have a business. They're attracted to that entrepreneurial spirit. I've noticed that trend as well for it too. And we will see you next week on another episode of Women Behind the Millions with another divorce specialist. Thank you, Donna. Thank you, Darlene, so much. And thank you to you, all of our viewers, for being here with us tonight. Hey, money queens, looking to get your wealth to that next level, 7, 8, 9 figures? Follow us on Instagram at PinkFixMyMoney and at Women's Wealth Boutique for more millionaire